Hello everyone, my name is Arun Manoharan. I'm a Director of Product at Adobe. I'm here with Tory Smithe, Digital Strategy Leader for Healthcare Practice at Adobe. Tory, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Tory, first of all, I want to start with personalization in healthcare. Consumers now more than ever have a lot more choices and options when it comes to their healthcare needs. What impact do you see this have in the industry?
You absolutely nailed it with choice, right? Choice is have exploded over the last few years with new entrants into the space. So whether we see retail and healthcare teaming up, or we see tech coming into the space, payers and providers teaming up, consumers are really empowered to make active selections when it comes to their care. Next, we're seeing the role that digital is playing in consumers' experiences in interacting with their healthcare. We recently conducted research around what are drivers of choice and loyalty, and we're seeing that digital is playing a much bigger part than it has historically. So consumers expect to be able to not only connect with their provider online, but dispute a bill and to understand the care plan and understand the options available to them. They want to do everything online. That drives obviously convenience and access. But that being said, they still expect a one-to-one relationship. They still want a human. They want to connect with the provider to build trust. So really when it comes to what our role is as healthcare marketers is how are we scaling those one-to-one experiences? How are we replicating the meaningful interactions that you might have with a provider digitally?
Personalization requires data. In healthcare, I can imagine it requires not only access to personal data, but also data can be very sensitive. What do you see in terms of organizations protecting this data and also consumers willing to give that data for healthcare organizations for better personalization?
So this is a conversation we have with customers a lot, like what's creepy and what's cool when it comes to their healthcare data. What do they expect we're using to facilitate their care versus what is hands-off in the eyes of the consumer? And what we're finding is you'd be surprised how willing consumers are to share that data. What they want, though, is to understand the value exchange. So what are they getting in return for that data? Are you just using it to reduce your own costs or even charge more? Or are you using that data to impact outcomes, to help facilitate their care? So that's really what it comes down to. What are they getting in exchange for that data? And what they consent to is dependent on that experience that's going to be delivered.
No, Tory, I think you said it really well with respect to the exchange of value between the consumer and a particular brand. I cannot agree more with you. And just coming from the field of data governance, working with customers across the verticals, not only in healthcare, but I can also see this in financial services, in retail, where trust is becoming very important. And as we know, trust is very hard to build and very easy to be broken.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in fact, when we did the research, we found out that it takes 3 times more effort to rebuild the lost trust. And that's where we are seeing the governance frameworks that are becoming very important, and the whole methodology around shift left, where governance, privacy, and security are being centered around the consumer. And how do you see that have an impact within healthcare?
I have been in healthcare for many, many years, and I've never been involved in so many trust and data governance discussions that I have been recently. It has been a proactive discussion that we're having with consumers. If we are going to be leveraging this data, how are we going to build a framework that we can count on that not only protects the organization, but honors what the consumer's preferences are? So we're talking a lot about data governance, structure, business rules, and really being great stewards of that data.
No, I think you said it really well around the framework that's part of the governance, which is around consent, transparency, and giving that control back to the consumer.
Historically, the reactive approach to data issues was what we would see in the industry. The, oh no, something's happened, we need to get our house in order. And now we're having much more proactive discussions. So we'd like to deliver this experience. What data do we need access to? Who should have access to that? What level of access should we have? So we're building a foundation around business rules, ethical priorities of an organization, and of course regulations that exist in the industry. And that's informing the data management strategy up front. So we're not having those oh no moments. We're also building trust with the consumers. Trust is really the only way that we can unlock access to that data. So having that proactive management strategy is going to be the path to ensuring that we gain that access and we maintain that access.
Talking about content. Content is very important for personalization, I can imagine. And also Adobe did a research, and we found out 68% of healthcare and life sciences organizations starting to see 2 to 3x increase in demand for content. How do you scale as a healthcare organization for all this content demand?
Yeah, 2 to 3x seems conservative. When we think about moving from, these standard 5 personas or 5 journeys, and now we're delivering journeys on a one-to-one basis. So absolutely, so much more content is needed. We're also expanding channels that we're delivering to. So it's less about how many long-form articles are we producing, how much content are we producing, and we're looking at the efficiency by which we create that content.
Yeah.
So are we creating content fragments that can then be used in different channels or different formats, or slightly different for individuals? So it's really about how is the content building the relationship, carrying forth that message for each individual. So focusing on process, focusing kind of on the upfront investment in creating content has been a large focus for our customers.
Yeah, and I mean, just being a consumer I'm inundated with content on a day-to-day basis, and I can see that every time there is the best content being displayed in an email or in an advertising, it gets my attention. What do you see is the transformation that's happening for a healthcare marketer's role over the next 3 to 5 years?
Back in the day, the idea that you would deliver an ad to a healthcare consumer and then be able to match that individual to an encounter in a hospital or enrollment in a plan was a North Star experience. Today, we're able to do that. We're able to say, absolutely, this person had this experience online, they saw this ad, they had this interaction with our call center, and then, oh, by the way, they had this encounter. So attribution is a huge focus. How does that change for the marketer? The marketer gets to claim that attribution. They get to say, marketing is contributing to the growth in the healthcare organization. Digital is a driver of growth in an organization, and that's still something that hasn't been quantified really for the industry. So the ability to analyze the data and understand the role and the contribution to the journey is number one. The other thing is the insights that come from understanding your consumer journey at that level. So drawing insights at every stage. How can we optimize? How can we reduce churn? How can we improve experience to move the consumer through whatever their journey might be? So being able to interpret the data, to understand attribution, to understand what the next best action needs to look like, that's what a healthcare marketer's skill set needs to be focused on. How do we use technology to create content fragments? How do we deliver content across multiple channels at any given time? And really, how do we deliver experiences while we sleep?
Yeah. No, so you're telling me no more brochures and billboards, and also batch and blast campaigns.
All of them gone. And let me ask you, what are you most excited about in the realm of trust for healthcare, based on your experience from out of industry?
I think even inside of Adobe, we are making sure all the applications that we build in terms of experience platform applications, we make trust front and center of our applications. So privacy, security, governance, we lead with those areas and make sure the marketers can use our technologies and not only deliver the best-in-class experience, but also in a privacy-conscious fashion.
Absolutely. The transformation has been momentous and really exciting.
Thank you, Tory, for joining me, and it's really exciting to see how Adobe is bringing their expertise from across industries into healthcare.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.